Bern, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Andreas.
It's a real pleasure to be able to get together with you and talk about psilocybin services with you today. How long have you been doing this?
Well, in Oregon's legal framework, since it started, 2 years now. It's almost 2 years. The end of July will be 2 years.
I think you were the second journey at Satya.
I remember that journey.
So do I. It was a great journey.
It was amazing.
How many clients have you seen here at Satya?
Macro dose one-on-one clients have been well over 100.
That's amazing. That makes you probably one of the most experienced facilitators in a service center context in Oregon. And you have some ideas around preparation for clients. So, preparation being the step after the client chooses a facilitator, they get on a Zoom call with you, and then you talk about getting the client ready. How do you approach prep, and what are some of your ideas around prep?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So preparation, I consider really important. I mean, all three parts are important: preparation, the administration session, and then integration session. Um, Prep is important, to help the client um, navigate the experience, because there are some different things that can present themselves, some more common things that can show up, and there's beneficial ways of being during the experience.
Right. How would you say you start off with clients at the beginning of prep?
hmm Well, I think in the beginning of prep, it's important to understand the experience, and maybe what is actually happening during the experience. And so, um, a general idea is that our regular, everyday conscious self is getting turned down. And at the same time, our subconscious is getting turned up, and the two are merging. And so when you're doing psilocybin in this intentional way, uh, in a session in this way, usually the most beneficial way is that you're laying down, relaxed and comfortable and calm, and your eyes are closed. Have an eye mask if you want. We supply those. And you're going inward. And your subconscious has a whole bunch of things to present to you in its own order. And the idea here with psilocybin is that the psilocybin isn't doing things to you to present certain things happening. Psilocybin is doing some very interesting mechanisms in the brain and then holding those mechanisms for you. And then the rest is all you. All right. So whatever happens, it's from your own subconscious, or as Deepak Chopra calls it, your superconscious that knows everything. And so oftentimes, some more common things that can happen is uh, different releases happening. For example, sometimes emotions can just come up and they may not even feel like emotions. They might just feel like energy is moving. They may not even have a story with them anymore. The idea is that you just stay relaxed and calm and even breathe with it. And whatever's happening, you just let it pass and move through you.
That was a really good description of how you're preparing clients to see what's going to happen in the experience. So it's preparing them for the experience. How do you go about discussing intention and the importance of intention?
With psilocybin, and I would say more so than with other entheogens, intention can really influence the experience. Intention meaning, why are you doing psilocybin? And what do you hope to get out of it? Um, and so, because we are working directly with our subconscious, and if you have your dosing right, and that's a art form, if you have your dosing right, you're still present during the experience and you can actually navigate the experience.
That was a really good description of what it's like to prepare for the experience itself. One of the things that you really focus on is intention setting prior to the experience. Do you have any ideas around that?
I would say with psilocybin that intention matters more than a lot of the other entheogens. Because we do have direct access to work with our subconscious, the idea is that the attention that you put to your intention can greatly influence your experience, because the more that your intention, again, you're paying attention to, it's gonna be more front and center at your subconscious when you are there in the psilocybin realm.
Bern, one of the things that you focus on is the attitude heading into the journey. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
That would be one's mindset. And so as part of understanding the journey, what we just talked about, what's actually happening, um, there's some beneficial mindsets to go in with it. And one is to trust the process. And so the process here, again, you're working with your own self, your own deeper inner self, and with your subconscious. And so the idea is to trust the process, that there is an innate intelligence. Psilocybin is working with your body and mind's innate intelligence to do what needs to be done. Okay, the order of events, the what is presented, all of those things that happen during it. And so, and that's also why Oregon rules have non-directive is the way that a facilitator should be, which means that a facilitator should not be interrupting your experience. Should not be directing it to say, "Hey, go look at this part of your life," or whatever. That's part of, again, your body mind's innate intelligence working with psilocybin. So trusting that process, meaning that whatever is being presented, whatever is being shown, whatever is coming up, that's all from your own very own self. And that is part of, again, psilocybin experience, the intentional one, is that we always get, yeah, always a profound sense of our own self, of understanding ourselves more. For a mindset, some of the beneficial ways of being are have um have a sense of gratitude for your own self for doing this work. This is deep work. This is the real deal. So good for you. Um, and along with that is the idea of just immersing yourself into the experience, opening up to it. I've had clients say that they've never opened themselves up to something so completely as this experience. And that's beautiful. They're opening themselves up to themselves, their deeper self. And those are the clients that get so much out of this. It just keeps giving to them.
It's the concept that the work you put in is the reward you get out. There's some kind of law of sowing and reaping there. Would
Absolutely.
you say that?
Absolutely. It's directly related. Absolutely.
The interesting thing that I've observed, and I'm wondering how you perceive this, is sometimes people try to do work and it doesn't lead to the reward that they want. In other words, they say, "This is what I want. This is how I'm going to go for it." And it appears as though that's almost a way to try to control the experience. And that sometimes is counterproductive. Do you see anything about that?
Yeah, well, the idea is how they're gonna go about it is, that's not necessarily up to them during the session. That's what's up to their deeper selves, how it's gonna happen. And so how they're gonna go about it sh- is the idea of roll with whatever's happening, you know, and not resist what's happening, and just how you're going to go about it. One great way is to have a sense of curiosity. And so whatever's being presented, you just have that general sense like, oh, this is interesting. Wow, what's happening here? How can I learn from this? What do I need to do here?
right?
Yeah, a sense of curiosity is a superpower in that realm. Yeah.
One of the parts of prep that some facilitators do is they give some suggestions to clients. It's a non-directive program, so we don't tell people what to do. They give suggestions to the client to look inward in exercises. Do you have any suggestions for that for people?
Yeah, well, leading up to the experience, one thing someone can do that's really effective is to journal about their intention. Mm.
Journaling about the intention. Anything else with journaling? Do you find that people like that idea of journaling? Do you ever see resistance to that?
Uh, no, I mean, some maybe a little bit, but not if they understand why. And one doesn't have to, you don't have to do any journaling, but the kind of journaling, the idea with journaling is, well, again, the attention that you pay to your intention, the more that it can influence your experience. And so, some of the ways of journaling is, y- you think deeply about whatever intention you're doing. Okay. And maybe like if it's something that you want to get relief from, like who knows, maybe anxiety or depression or so forth, you want to journal about, it's helpful to journal about like maybe when it first presented, maybe when that first started, if there was some kind of life occurrences happening. Um, it's also good to can be beneficial to journal about your feelings around things, like, "Oh, I feel this way if I'm gonna go out and socialize, and I don't want to. I'd like to feel this way," or something. Um, and, when you journal, you use more parts of your brain, okay? And also, you're facing those ideas and those, some of that stuff that you'd like to shift. You're facing those already by journaling. And if you journal about your feelings around the issues, um, sometimes on the other side, like your deep feelings around it, sometimes on the other side of after the psilocybin, it's good to reflect back in your journal and you'll notice, it'll help you notice some shifts that are happening. Um, and then you can recognize perhaps a beneficial trajectory of a pattern that you can help nurture and grow stronger.
To be really clear, I talk about journaling with every client, and I personally believe it's the most important exercise you can do before
Mhm.
a journey.
Yeah.
And if you look up and Google psychedelic integration tools, journaling is always the number one thing that comes up.
Yeah.
I view journaling as an imperative.
Mhm.
Sometimes people do it, sometimes they don't. How do you look at integration work? What are some of your ideas around that and how you help clients?
Once someone decides to do this intentional psilocybin session, integration starts with that. Is all related to integration.
I like the way you just said that. I say it a little bit differently. I say that this work in prep is the same as the work for integration. It's all the same work,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
And the psilocybin journey is one of those powerful events that requires a reflection in and of itself on that.
Mhm.
But all your deepest grief, your loss, your trauma, journaling can help you look into that, and that can be a form of integration, any kind of event. What are some suggestions that you would have for clients that would make it more likely for them to have an excellent experience in terms of the way they approach being in the session?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andreas. And so I have three simple ideas, and they're kind of obvious, but they are important, and they all overlap. Okay. So, um, these first two, they're in no particular order, but these first two really go together. And that is, it's important to be calm in your mind and relaxed in your body. And yes, relaxed in your body is important. Sometimes you hear clients respond like, "Oh, I thought this was all just in the brain." No. Oftentimes it could be a very somatic experience, somatic meaning in your body. There's oftentimes different releases being had. You could be just laying there for an hour or something, and all of a sudden your like, shoulder could start twitching or whatever. It's great. Just roll with it. Let it happen. Um, and so, or other things can maybe happen. There's a common um, occurrence, semi-common, which some of the facilitators here have affectionately named the stew. And that could be towards the beginning where there's just a bunch of energies that kind of swell up. And sometimes they can feel like emotions, sometimes not. Sometimes they are maybe a bunch of emotions just merged together that weren't fully processed or something in the past. The idea is just let them come up and move through you. Okay. And sometimes you can even feel those energies kind of turn or move through your body in different ways. But the idea is that if you're relaxed and calm, pretty much whatever's happening, you just go with it. Okay. So let's take this stew. If you didn't have preparation and understood about, being calm and relaxed. And well, if you're laying there and all of a sudden you feel like this presence kind of moving through your body, you might instinctively, okay, so I've been there, so I know it's to them. You instinctively might tense up in some way. And then you'd also start thinking, what is this? What's happening? Is this gonna get stronger? How long is it gonna happen? What is this? And you'd be tense. And so what happens is that maybe those energies can't move around as freely. Maybe and it could kind of feel maybe a little bit more uncomfortable in that way. And then of course you get kind of distressed about like what's going on. So you take the same situation and you are understanding, okay, there's a process here. And you know that whatever's going on, you stay calm and relaxed. And what helps with that is just bringing your awareness back to your breathing, the sensation of your breath, perhaps even sensation of your air flowing in and out through your nostrils, focusing on that. That always can just bring us calm. Every exhalation, relax a little bit more. And you just do that throughout. And that could be an intuitive thing also during the experience. So let's take that same scenario, the stew. And yeah, you feel this presence, this energy all of a sudden moving around through your body. And it's kind of surreal. But you understand, like, okay, there's a process here. And that I'm going to stay calm and relaxed. I'm just going to breathe through it and find it interesting. And so if you're breathing calm, you're breathing slow, deeper, you know, you c those energies moving around, it actually, instead of being uncomfortable, it could feel almost good, especially you can feel them actually leave or dissipate. And when that happens, it could almost feel semi-euphoric in a way, like there's a lightness that happens. And so that's a good illustration. Same situation, 2 different ways of being. You get a lot more out of it if you're staying calm and relaxed. And anytime, along with that calm idea is that it's usually good to not find yourself too much in your head. Like just thinking, talking to yourself during the experience. As humans, when something happens to us, we like to have it make sense, especially correlated to something else in our life. I guarantee there's going to be parts of the experience, the psilocybin experience, it's not going to make sense during it. And also parts of it that are just going to be really hard to describe to yourself. They're going to be hard to put into words. That's okay. You don't need to worry about that. You don't need to get caught up into what just happened or what's going to happen next. A lot of the experience is being present in the moment. Some of it is just kind of absorbing the feelings, the different frequencies that happens. Sometimes parts of the experience could just feel like you're getting shoved full of information, for lack of a better way to describe it. And so any of that, whether it's letting go or taking on or just being calm, relaxed, trusting the process. Hmm. And so the third thing, along with those two things, is, and I touched on this earlier, is immersing yourself into the experience. Or in another way of saying it is opening yourself up to the experience, not resisting the experience, any part of the experience. And it could be natural for parts of it to resist, but to understand the idea, to let it flow. And there's even a saying in this work that if you resist, the feeling persists.
Wow. Well, that was really amazing. And I really appreciate spending the time with you. And uh, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Andreas. Thank you for the opportunity.